Welcome to the Contrarians, and tonight we are going to talk our top 5 guilty pleasures. This is a pretty good episode. These guys are bearing their souls, so let's get started. Welcome to the Contrarians, and tonight we have a wonderful topic. Oh my God, you're going to like this, because if you're one of those people that have guilty pleasures in music, well, these guys are going to bare their souls. Because we're going to have our top 5 guilty pleasures. Now, I don't know what they're going to pick, but we're going to go through in an hour our 5. Well, we'll have 15 to be quite honest. So I want to welcome John the Music Nut, Jeff Halvarson, and of course, Dan with his channel Off the Charts. We're here tonight and we're going to talk guilty pleasures. So anyway, gentlemen, nice seeing you. Nice to have you here tonight. Are you guys ready to talk some guilty pleasures? Shall we do, let's do 2, 2, and 1 and just keep it moving. So I'm going to start out with John, and I'm going to go to Dan and then Jeff and then loop around again. So John, give me your 2 guilty pleasures.
All right. It's great to be here. Thanks so much for having me. So these are not guilty pleasures to me. These are bands that I love that I don't get a chance to talk about on the Contrarians or any other channel I'm on. So I'm going to talk about bands whose albums have sold 2,000 copies, okay, or maybe 20 million. So we're going to have some nice variety here. And with me, most albums have a story. So this first one I'm going to talk about, it was a band that I did not know about until they came in as a last-minute replacement as the special musical guest on Saturday Night Live in 1990. Now, in May 1990, Andrew Dice Clay, the famous Filthy Mouth comic, was at the peak of his popularity. Sinead O'Connor was supposed to be the musical guest, but because of his kind of comedy, she declined to go on the show. So they had to get a last-minute replacement. So G.E. Smith heard the CD by this band, got in touch with them, and at the last minute, the Hispanic Boys played on Saturday Night Live.
I'll be damned. Never heard them.
Never heard of them either.
Now, the Hispanic Boys, this is Tom and Ian Spanik, father and son. Tom's no longer with us. He passed away in 2016. What do they sound like? They sound like Ricky Nelson meets Marshall Crenshaw meets the Blasters. It's a lot of rockabilly, a lot of country, but they played on Saturday Night Live that night in May of 1990, and they played the song Keep On Walking. So, and this song was just so infectious. It went through my head for a long time, and finally I said, I got to get my hands on this CD, and they have 8 albums. Cool. And this is their self-titled album. This would have been in 1990 when they played the show. Highlights, the whole album. It just goes right by. It's 15 tracks of great rockabilly, old-time rock and roll, country, not the song old-time rock and roll, but it's old rock and roll. But it sounds timeless. They're a band at a time whose music sounds timeless today. When you hear the recording, it sounds like it could have been recorded last week. So the Hispanic Boys is my number 1 guilty pleasure that I love. Number 2. Now, this jazz singer I found on WRTI, Temple University Radio, your home for jazz and classical music in the Lehigh Valley. Now, back in the early 2000s, I was heavy into jazz music. And they would play a lot of vocal jazz, and I'm not really a big vocal jazz guy. I like piano jazz. And I like a lot of jazz fusion and old bebop and stuff like that. But they played this singer, and they would play him on there pretty consistently, particularly his rendition of the old jazz classic called Nature Boy. So this is Kevin Mahogany, and this is his 1997 album, Another Time, Another Place. If you ever heard of scat singing, which
Mhm.
Louis Armstrong was first doing it back in the 20s, he was like one of the great scat singers, Kevin Mahogany, but he was doing the 90s and the 2000s. This is a great album because he does some scat singing, but you also got some slow ballads. He does a lot of covers. He does Charles Mingus's Goodbye Pork Pie Hat, Nature Boy, which I mentioned before. He does a duo of Parker's Mood in Kansas City. There's a duet on here with Randy Travis, who was big in the 80s and 90s on the country charts. He was one of the big country stars before country really went into the mainstream with Garth Brooks' popularity. But this whole album kicks. I mean, what a fantastic voice. Sadly, we lost him in 2017. But excellent album. Big Rub is great. That's when he really goes off on his scat singing. Free is an excellent vocal performance. In the Wee Small Hours of the Morning is a great ballad. All the playing on here is impeccable, as you can imagine. But give this one a shot if you can get a chance. If you find us on YouTube, maybe you'll even find it used. Kevin Mahogany, Another Time, Another Place, 1997. Okay, there's my two.
Awesome, man. Why do I get the feeling I'm going to be spending money? I don't know why. I don't know why. All
My
right.
job.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks, John.
Really.
All right, let's throw over to Dan. I can hardly wait to see what what a fun show. I can hardly wait to see what Dan's going to pull out here. So Dan, what's your two?
I can guarantee you I will not make you spend money, Grant. I can tell you that right now.
Hey,
this
I was over here looking these up when John was talking about them.
Oh, wait, this is me pouring out my soul here. Like, this is, I went for the route, like, stuff that's I like it.
Okay.
Some that I love, but it's not something that I would brag to other people about owning. There's reasons for everything that I bought. So my first one, and I'm going to get the worst one out of the way. Only close friends know I own these. So there was a TV show back in the late 90s on TV here in Canada. Anyway, it played... It's almost like it aired at the same time like Saved by the Bell, that type of show, but it was a music oriented. And I remember watching that. We got some of these chicks in this group are hot. So I started watching the show and I'm getting into, and please don't unsubscribe from me. So I'm talking about S Club 7. I don't know if you guys are familiar with
I have no idea.
That's okay. Don't go search it, Grant.
I'm gonna look.
So
S Club 7.
It's a pop group. Do you guys know about this group here, S Club 7?
Nope.
Yeah. So it's from the UK. Think of
there it is.
I don't know but anyway. So anyway, I got this one, this one, and this one. Now I got all of them. The only one it goes all downhill after the second one. This one to me is the better one. I did love, I forget their names, Rachel and Joe were like the two hot chicks. But this TV show used to play after school, or not after school. I wasn't at school at the time there, but after school hours, like 4 or 5 p.m. And I used to watch it just because I was in love with two of these two girls. I'm like, okay, these songs aren't bad. They're just very pop dance. But honestly, only the first one to me is actually worth checking out. But again, don't bother checking them out. It's not.
I'm checking them out right now.
So this is to me is my worst one. I don't usually talk about it. Here I am bearing my soul on the internet in front of I don't know how many people, 9,000 subscribers you guys got. So anyway, S Club 7 is my first one. So yeah, I'm not here to tell people.
Dan, we might only have 9,000 subs, so we get a lot of views.
Oh, I know.
So you're pouring your
Well, watch out the comments will be, who the hell is this off the church guy? Oh my God. Anyway, now that I got that one over and done with, the other ones are a little bit more normal. So I'm a hard rock guy. So for my second pick, hard rock, hair metal is my thing. That's pretty much all I got. This band has been around since the 70s. Everybody knows their songs. They're from Sweden, so there you go. That should tell you right away. So I absolutely love this group here. It wasn't cool to like them back in high school. If you were listening to Alice Cooper and Kiss and Warrant and Poison, it wasn't cool to like ABBA. You know what? I'm 52 now. Who cares? I think these guys or this group has great songwriting. And I'll say this: SOS has got to be my favorite song by them, just by that the bridge part, which goes into a minor key. I was like, oh my God, that's so brilliant. So yeah, it wasn't cool back then. Now I got this is the only thing I do own by them, but you got to start somewhere. So I'm going to go with ABBA. And of course, you got to have sometimes some albums when you got family coming over. You can't always play, Alice Cooper or Winger and all that. You got to have some stuff that's, family friendly. So this is a good example to have. So ABBA Gold was not cool at the time to like them. I like them now. There you go.
Here, and I thought his guilty pleasure was going to be Winger. ABBA, ABBA, they were sold so many records, and Pete Townsend even when I looked at ABBA in a different frame of mind when Pete Townsend praised them back in the day. Like he says, just absolutely brilliant songwriting, some of the best stuff out there. And if you do listen to it, the production, the musicianship, the vocals, they were very distinct, and they knew how to write a pop hook, no doubt about it. And think about this: when they did that reunion tour, I didn't hear the reunion album. I only heard like a couple of tracks. Was it Voyager or Voyage or something?
I forget there.
But still, the world was just all ready for ABBA. We need some ABBA. So, they still have a lot of impact today.
Oh, for sure. Don't get me wrong.
Just goes to show how loved they are, in the world. That's all I'm saying.
But it was not cool in my high school to, peer pressure. It was all metal. Like if you were a guy, you loved metal pretty much. That was it. You had to. So hard rock or metal. If you got teased big time if you mentioned ABBA. So
Eddie Trunk used to get teased for liking Kiss. Did you
I got teased for liking Kiss, and trust me, I've gotten teased for liking Winger also. Still do. But that part
I just teased you.
I don't know you well enough, but Winger, really? Okay.
Oh yeah. In my top 5 bands too.
I think probably Winger they came pretty late wait a minute. When did Winger first come out? Help me.
88.
That's pretty late. Though not as late as Skid Row. We're talking a year. I mean, they really didn't have much of a time before things all changed in 91. So maybe that's why. I don't know. Maybe they get looped into that whole era where hair metal and all that was getting so silly and so retarded that,
It's kind of a shame too, because Winger had chops for days, and they are a lot heavier live. And their deep cuts on those albums those guys could play, man. I mean, those guys went to Berkeley School of Music in Boston. I mean, those guys got Rod Morgenstein playing on Dixie Dregs. I mean, fantastic band.
You weren't a slouch if you play in the Dregs.
No doubt about it.
I just think they got put into that classification, maybe unfairly, but maybe they are.
People only know the hits. They don't know the albums. So
all I know is in our half price books, there's a used Winger CD that's been there for months and no one buys it.
I already have it, so sorry I can't help you.
No, I'm just saying I don't think people care anymore. I don't know. But you would think.
Yeah.
It's all like the Motley Crue CDs, those seem to sell. I don't know. No one cares about Winger. That's a whole other show. Anyway, Dan, awesome. Great 2 picks. All right. ABBA. I get it. All right, Jeff, what's your 2?
All right. Well, first, a comment on the ABBA thing. I read a couple of books about Saturday Night Live, and ABBA played Waterloo on Saturday Night Live pretty early on. And apparently the guys didn't really want to book them. They were pretty much told, you are going to put these guys on your show because they are very popular and we are going to get viewers. So they had them do Waterloo on a cruise ship of some sort. And throughout the whole thing, water is pouring down on them. The boat just starts springing a leak. And were real troopers about it. I mean, they I'm not sure if they were in on the joke or how this worked. Didn't say, but they kept going with with what they were doing and just put up with it. It was I mean, on the one hand, it's kind of funny because yeah, I get it. ABBA's not exactly cool at that point. On the other hand, they're popular and they seem to be pretty professional. And they look like they're having such a good time when they're doing the music that, yeah,
I just remember when I was a kid in the 70s and stuff, and they had tons of singles out. You heard ABBA all the time on the radio. So I don't know. I just assume that,
So
maybe maybe they got tired of hearing them. Could that be possible?
Oh, certainly. I mean, that, a lot of things get burned out. And so I've got sort of a three-pronged approach to this because, what is a guilty pleasure? Now I'm going to pontificate. Martin Jr., you can call me.
Oh, God, look out.
So is it a guilty pleasure to the general public who would look at it and say, what are you doing listening to that? What's wrong with you? Is it a guilty pleasure to the contrarians who would say, what are you doing listening to that? What's wrong with you? Which is, I might expect somebody to say that about ABBA, given that it's mostly hard rock and prog and whatnot here. Obviously, people are kind of more open-minded and it's not a gatekeeping community, but still there's stuff that's cooler than not in this particular subculture. And then is it a guilty pleasure to me because there's some reason that I know or I feel that I shouldn't be listening to this. And it doesn't really have to do with anybody else. And that's kind of a special case. So I gotta follow up ABBA. I'm going to throw Dan a bone. I do not have any CDs or vinyl. Everything is digital for me. So here's a copy of Main Course by the Bee Gees. I think that's a pretty good record.
Well, there's nothing wrong with okay, you're right. Go ahead.
You have I think there are other people that are a little more hardcore that might say, and normally that's kind of where I tend to sit. It's like, you like Venom? If I don't like Venom, I still understand. I respect your hardcore. You like something like that. You like Slayer, whatever. If you like the Bee Gees, well, what's going on here? But those songs are pretty damn good. Jive Talking kicks ass.
Hey, Barry Gibb, hell of a songwriter. And
Yeah.
the fact, if you think about Saturday Night Fever, where they wrote all those great hits on that in a matter of, they just cranked those out. They were on fire then. You cannot deny the talent within them at all. Holy mackerel.
Great songwriting, yeah.
Yeah. And, well delivered. I mean, a lot of people don't really think much of the high voices, but, hey, there's all kinds of stuff to like. And to me, going to something like that, again, it just then throws your harder stuff into perspective, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just continually only listen to harder and harder and harder stuff. I mean, at some point, haven't we already done that with industrial or somewhere? We must have hit maximum hardness. There's no point in making an escalation. So that would be one that I think would be possibly a guilty pleasure in the eyes of a lot of people who, at least the people that watch this, looking for hard rock content. Oh, great, the Bee Gees. Thanks. Well,
I don't know.
That's how it is.
You might be surprised on the contrarian audience and what they like.
Well, that's true. I mean, I think since a lot of people here are very open-minded, it's going to attract open-minded listeners too.
And you mentioned, and I mentioned on Sea of Tranquility doing bread, doing player. Come on. And there were a lot of people. Well, there were some people over there that went, "Oh, really? What?" But that's his channel. He wants to do it. And a lot of people applauded us for doing those bands because no one else is talking about them. So we're going to be doing Firefall here soon. I don't know when, probably, I don't know, a couple weeks. So, but someone needs to talk about it, and Pete's got the channel for it. So you never know. We might do ABBA over there, for crying out loud, or the Bee Gees.
All right. Next one I'm going to go in kind of the same vein is a little bit different, is Electric Six, the Fire album. This is kind of goofy novelty rock. I got my introduction to it by seeing a video like 20 years ago of some kittens doing gay bar, which was very, very, very silly. And I really liked it. And I wound up checking out the album. It's like, oh, wow, all this stuff is really fun. Most of it's very upbeat. It's silly as hell. You must have been the dance commander. I went to the store to get more fire to start the war. All this other crazy shit. It's just very goofy, and it's actually a hell of a lot of fun. So why not? That would be probably not standard contrarian fare. The general public, I think, was pretty amused by it, at least the people I knew. But that I don't know. You look confused, right?
I'm looking them up. They've got quite a catalog.
Yeah,
I've never heard of them before. But yeah, they've
have
got quite a catalog. It says, at least with Discogs, they say, infuse elements of garage, disco, punk, new wave, and metal.
Yeah, they're
That's
kind of
basically all the styles.
They do it all, ladies and gentlemen. I've never heard of them.
It's a little like Dred Zeppelin or something. That kind of, it's just so weird that you're either going to hate it or you're going to love it. And there are bands like that I cannot listen to at all. But that one, I don't know, it's pretty fun.
Looks like they only have one album that came out on Warner Brothers.
Yeah, that's
Senior Smoke.
Oh, I don't know that.
Yeah, but I'm looking at the album, some of the cuts on here. Rock and Roll Evacuation, Devil Knights, Bite Me, Jimmy Carter. All kinds of weird titles. I might have to check them out and see what they sound like.
Yeah, well,
now I'm interested. Sounds odd and bizarre. So
try the fire. It's real weird. It's cool.
I mean, is there a particular album that you would recommend to somebody?
Fire. It's the only one I've got.
Oh, Fire. So the first album. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know what they did after that.
They've got, gosh, maybe 15 more albums, 10 more albums after that, Jeff.
Around that same time, I also had discovered internet radio and stoner metal, and I kind of got lost for a while. I was busy with Chevy and all kinds of other, Fu Manchu and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that was since I'm a big fuzz guy, I mean, well, wrong hand. That back there, it's real hard to point mirror wise.
It is.
The oranges are good at that shit.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's kind of a thing I'm real into. But
awesome.
Anyway, so there we go. Bee Gees and Electric Six, and I've got 3 more. Well, I've got like 12 more embarrassing things. So, I'll yield at this point.
All right, cool. Let's throw over to John. John, give us your 2 more.
All right. Well, this album sold tons and tons of copies. I looked this up. This album is certified double diamond now, 21 million copies. Okay. Now, this is also probably, if you go out and you use CD bins, This is probably one of the easiest CDs you can buy for like $1 or $2, because a lot of people, they cleared out their collections and they got rid of a lot of stuff. Now, this band for about 2 years were on fire in the mid 90s. And I liked them from the get-go. I saw them on the tour for this album. They opened for actually special guest for Toad the Wet Sprocket. And I'll tell you what, for the first 8 songs on here, I think Hootie and the Blowfish's Crack Rear View is killer. I love this album. And this is a used copy. I used to have this on cassette. I don't know who I gave it to. I don't have it anymore.
Well, you could get that. They did sell a lot of that. And I remember when that came out, that sold big time. And now you can find it all day in the cheapy bins. But
all day.
Well, there you go.
You can find it all day. But I'll tell you what, if you find this in a cheapy bin, you're going to get a great album. And not just the singles. The singles, Hold My Hand, Let Her Cry, Only Want to Be With You, Time, huge singles, great songs, still sound great. The deep cuts on here are great. Drowning, which is topical, but rocks like hell. Hannah Jane, the opening track, is excellent. Running from an Angel is an awesome song. It starts to peter out a little bit at the end. It wouldn't be one of my top 10 albums for 94, but it's close because of those first 8 tracks. And they're going out on tour this summer. 30th anniversary of Crack Rear View. Guess who'll be there?
You?
That's right.
That guy, yes.
And you mentioned that they used to open for Toad the Wet Sprocket?
They were the special guest. They got an hour set, and they did the whole album, and they did Bill Withers' Use Me that night. And it was the last night of the tour, so they were playing jokes on each other throughout Toad's set, and Toad were killer that night. Toad were a great live.
I like Toad the Wet Sprocket too.
Oh yeah,
you can get that stuff cheap. But look, I bet you though, John, Hootie and the Blowfish go back out, they'll be playing big places. I bet
they're playing big venues. I'm going to see them at Bethel Woods.
There you go.
And that holds about between 50 and 18,000.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, they're only playing big places. They're playing Hershey Park Stadium the next night. So, I mean, yeah, they're playing big places on this tour, and they got Collective Soul and Edwin McCain opening up. So it's going to be a great show. Yes,
cool.
But
I haven't listened to that in years.
It's a great album.
You haven't heard it in years.
Oh, it's always worth revisiting. Now, my next one I bought as a new release. And I bought this in early 1990. The album came out in June of 1989. Now, this artist started out rock, but then he became a pop balladeer. And eventually, he was known more for covering a lot of people's songs. But I bought this album because I loved the third single. The first single was Soul Provider. The second single was his cover of Georgia on My Mind by Ray Charles. I believe Ray Charles wrote it. But when I heard How Can We Be Lovers, I had to buy Michael Bolton's Soul Provider.
I remember that song.
How Can We Be Lovers was a killer song. Excellent song. And this is back when I'm listening to a lot of harder stuff. I was still listening to Little Feat and the Allman Brothers, but I was also listening to Fate No More and Jane's Addiction and King's X and stuff like that. But I love this album. And a lot of it borders on schmaltz, but the singles on here are great. And when it comes to a tender voice for a ballad, I mean, to me, it's Kenny Rogers, Biff Byford, and Michael Bolton. I mean, outstanding. I love this album. I've loved this album ever since I bought it over 34 years ago. And I got to see him live in 2002. He put on an outstanding show. I know he's having some health issues now, so all the best to you, Mr. Bolton. Full speed recovery. Get back out on the road if you can. But Soul Provider is a great album. Next album, he went with Time, Love, and Tenderness, and that took him to a bigger level. But there was a stretch there. Michael Bolton's music, you couldn't avoid it. He was on fire for a long time.
I mean, have you ever heard the Blackjack album
I was just gonna say that I have that because
when
of
he
Bruce.
was doing hard rock?
Yeah, because of
I've
Bruce.
heard pieces of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay.
And the first two albums he did, the self-titled and Everybody's Crazy, you had Bruce Kulick was playing on those albums
Yeah.
before he joined Kiss. Yeah, those albums rock pretty good. You know, but
Oh
I
my
think he really
God.
found his calling on the Hunger when he went more into the pop style.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking up Blackjack now. Oh, there's Bruce Kulick. Oh my God, that's great.
With the
Yeah.
mustache.
Yeah, yeah. Oh wow.
I have the one with the deck of cards there. That's the one I have. Yeah.
The first one, and then they did another one called Worlds Apart that came out in 1980.
Mm-hmm.
I've never heard. I know a friend of mine thinks those records are great. I don't know. I haven't heard them. Didn't know if
they're
you,
good.
they're all right. All right, cool. Wow. Look that up, John, when you get a chance.
Definitely.
Man.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard them in spots. I've never heard them all the way through, but I've heard a few songs here and there. I mean, I didn't really know who Michael Bolton was until The Hunger when he did That's What Love Is All About and his cover of Sitting on the Dock of a Bay, which I thought was excellent. But on this album, he's co-writing a lot of songs with Desmond Childs and like a lot of great songwriters of that time. But the deep cuts on here are really good too. It's Only My Heart, You Wouldn't Know Love Cuts Deep, excellent stuff.
Wow.
And I didn't buy this just to impress anyone either, but I loved it on my own. Just had to say that.
I'm looking at that Blackjack album, that first one. Bruce Kulick and Michael Bolton wrote everything.
Mm.
Tom Dowd produced it. I might have to listen to that, see what it sounds like. Because I bet Michael Bolton singing that, hard rock, I bet he would definitely have the pipes for that.
He did. Oh,
I would say it's soft hard rock.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Not like it's less.
It's not Helix or Crocus or anything like that.
No.
It's not Triumph. I'm going Canada. That's all.
Yeah.
Like heavy, like Survivor. I guess I don't know.
All right,
Okay.
there you go.
Well, that's okay.
I guess
He rocked at times.
at times, as you.
All right, cool.
Diane Warren co-wrote some songs on here. Diane Warren, how many great songs does she?
Oh
write?
yeah.
Holy crap!
She's a machine.
She is a
Songwriting
machine.
machine.
And she can go to the grocery store and nobody knows who she is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All
Awesome.
right, cool. All right, John,
Yep.
2 more great picks. I'm not laughing.
Yeah.
Whenever you start teasing, I never know where you're going to go. And then I'm just like, oh, wow,
That's why I love working with you.
Yeah, there you go. All right, Dan, what's your next two?
All right, so here's my tease. If I
Okay.
tell you guys that Farrah Fawcett was the 70s poster girl, and if I tell you Pamela Anderson was the 90s poster girl, who was the 80s poster girl? It was
80s.
she was in every record store when you went there, and she also became a singer.
Are you saying she became a singer?
Irene Cara.
Yeah. No,
Well,
here,
you're
I'll show
probably
you.
not that far off.
Catherine Bach.
Oh,
Oh.
Samantha Fox.
come on, guys.
I forgot about her.
Yeah, it all started with, you go and search for your albums in the hard rock section, but the posters were there in the music store. You had to go look at the posters. And I'm like, okay, her songs are actually not too bad there. The first one is the best, this one right here. I got the 4 on vinyl and the greatest hits on digital there, so that's enough for me. But yeah, I do enjoy this, again, from time to time. Don't really brag about this one either. But there you go, Samantha Fox. I would say this one right here. There's not much to say. Everybody knows her, right?
Well,
There-
they used to. I don't think Samantha Fox is,
For those who don't know, the younger folks, she used to be the UK page 3 girl, which is the equivalent to the Sunshine Girl for us Canadians. I don't know if the US had the same type, just with no bikini top. That's pretty much the big difference.
Right.
So yeah, that was, and you can actually go look in the poster section in the record stores and see it all.
Well, I remember there was a picture disc that came out around that same time of her pictures on the front and back, and she seems very happy on those.
Oh, there was. I remember here there was one with someone put stickers on top of the boob section, and of course you could see all them being scratched off, and you had a sign on the CD or the vinyl, "Stop scratching this off."
Stop it.
Anyway,
Yeah.
okay, so that was another fun one. This one's a little bit more serious. I doubt you guys would know this, so I'm gonna go with Joe Dassin. This is a French singer. Now, again, you got to remember, I'm a hard rock guy. This is what you would call your parents' music, okay? So when I was a kid, you know, you had no choice but to listen to your parents' music. My mom had bought some albums, and you know, you get used to the songs, and this is sort of like a greatest hits. So this is my mom's album. After she passed away, I decided, you know, I'm going to go look through her catalog. Which one should I keep? So I do actually still play this one every year on her birthday in her honor. I do enjoy this one. So it's like a crooner type of, but French from France. My mom, like everybody's mom that was French, loved this guy. It's like, I don't know, the equivalent to Julio Iglesias, I guess. I don't know there, or Paul Anka, that type of music. But great songwriting on this. And not many people know I own this. So there you go, Joe Dassin. Yeah, this is a greatest hit. So you got all you have right here. All you need right here is this.
I have nothing to say about that. I have no idea who that is.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's stuff that stuck with me. I don't play it every day there. Like I said, I play it on my mom's birthday every year.
Well, that's cool.
Good. And it's brings me back good memories there too. So there you go. That's
awesome.
My second one.
Cool.
Third and second.
Excellent. All right, cool. Thanks, Dan. All right, Jeff, give us a couple.
All right. When I want people to know that, you know, I'm cool and I like good music, sometimes I'll tell them I'm into Sleep at the Wheel, which is Texas swing. They're a lot of fun. For anybody that doesn't know, it's a little hard to describe, but basically you get it's like upbeat country with fiddle, and you know, more violins than you would really expect. The Contrarian Connection is Asleep at the Wheel, actually covered Hot Rod Lincoln. And last night I A-B'd it with Pat Travers' version. And you know, Pat Travers, right? We all like Pat Travers.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty damn good. Well, I think the Asleep at the Wheel version might be just as good. It's, you know, there's different things to like about each one, but I wouldn't say that one is superior to the other. They're just different, and they're both pretty cool. I almost don't care which one I hear. I'm actually more familiar with the Asleep at the Wheel one. I don't have a particular album lined up because they're kind of roughly all about the same of the ones that I've got.
Wow, they've got quite a catalog too.
Yeah, they've been going around forever. I mean, you know, maybe later stuff. Some of these guys are, there might have been member replacements to make a difference, but I remember Western Standard Time, I think, was one of the albums that was pretty good. You know, there's just a bunch of good stuff on here, and some of it really kind of cooks, and you wouldn't really expect that to. I mean, it's a throwback. Well, it's an updated version of what you know, Bob Wills was doing.
Yep.
And that doesn't necessarily cook quite the same way. It's not as hefty. I'm not really into Bob Wills that much. And you know, you're talking about your parents' music. Why do I know about this? Because my mom liked it, and she played it. And I was like, hey, this is actually not bad. And I wound up buying a bunch myself. Kind of at this point, I'm thinking, wow, I haven't thought about these guys in forever. I mean, you know, I had to dig through to find things that would qualify for this. And like, wow, I haven't really paid attention to Asleep at the Wheel in a little while. I could probably listen to some, and I bet there's more records to go get.
Yeah.
So I may cost myself money. We'll see how that goes. So there's one, and God, it's so hard to trim this down to 5. This is tough. In fact, I'm partly making the cuts based on what do I have something to say about. If I've got more to say about it, then it goes higher. So a long time ago, I was reading about Ritchie Blackmore and all these guys that started in the Blues Breakers and places like that, and things that they played before that, and they were all in skiffle bands. Well, what the fuck is skiffle? And I went and looked it up and found Lonnie Donegan, Skiffle King. And it turns out that skiffle kind of rules. I think there should be more skiffle now. It's kind of just like an upbeat folk rock, a little bit countryish, a little bit rock and roll. It kind of predates it all. Like, I don't know why this isn't better preserved. When I was reading through, I had a Rolling Stone illustrated guide to rock and roll, big red book back in the early 80s, and that's how I learned about a bunch of stuff. And they would talk about this, but they never really told you what the hell skiffle was. And nobody ever played any, so I had to go find it. But it turns out they're really kind of worth checking out.
Lonnie Donegan was huge. I mean, that's
known now. In fact, the reason I knew about him in particular was that David Letterman made a joke about him, or actually I think it was Paul Schaefer, but back when they were lampooning the whole Jay Leno business, they said something about, oh, everybody's got a job now. Oh, Lonnie Donegan's got a job. I'm like, who the hell is he? I went and looked it up. I'm like, oh, this fits this together. And all right, now we're getting somewhere. But, hey, this guy's actually really cool.
Did you ever see that? Did anybody here see that footage, Jimmy Page, when he was a kid, like 14, maybe 13, 14, where he and the other guys playing skiffle on the TV show?
Nope.
Check it out.
Okay.
Young Jimmy Page playing skiffle. Yeah, it was what everybody was playing then.
And I'm, I thought like, okay, well, this will be kind of out of the weeds, and everybody over there is nodding like, oh yeah, no, skiffle's pretty cool. Holy shit, you guys know too much. I need to find the version of the Contrarians where I'm the one that knows the most, so none of you guys can be on it. No, seriously though, this is cool. It's neat that people know, other people are also paying attention to all this weird stuff that's out there that connects in some way to whatever got us turned on in the beginning.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's 2 more.
All right. Well, let's go around one more time and get our last picks. John.
All right. Well, Jeff, I'm also a fan of Asleep at the Wheel. Thank you, Dick Snowden, my good friend, for introducing me to them. That Half 100 Years album they came out with in, I believe, 2021. That's a very good record.
I'll check
Very
it out.
good. Oh yeah, and I saw them on that tour too. I saw them in Ryan Gavalier's hometown there in Kent, Ohio.
Oh, beautiful Kent.
Beautiful Kent. That Kent stage. They kick butt live. Yeah. Awesome band. But Jeff, I'll tell you what, I knew you were cool from the first time we talked on Discord. You know why? Well, among other reasons. I also love the Bee Gees.
All right.
And here's my choice. Saturday Night Fever soundtrack.
Yeah.
Great record. Second biggest selling soundtrack of all time. Number 1's Bodyguard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of tender voices here, you got the Gibb brothers. Barry Gibb is an underrated talent. I mean, everybody thinks of those disco songs with the Bee Gees, but they had so many great pop songs before that, including To Love Somebody, which Michael Bolton covered and made it a hit. But this is an outstanding album. We had this vinyl back when I was growing up in Courtdale, Pennsylvania. It was a double vinyl, and I bought this about 30 years ago. That's why it's a fat box. And this album, though, this is just a treasure of riches, because you had 4 #1 hits here with Staying Alive, How Deep Is Your Love, Night Fever, and If I Can't Have You, which was Yvonne Elliman, but that was a Barry Gibb song. Jive Talkin's on here, which Jeff talked about earlier, which was also a #1, but that went to #1 in 75. And you have A Fifth of Beethoven by Walter Murphy, which was a hit in 76. And then all these deep cuts on here, the instrumentals on here, all work perfectly.
Yep.
Excuse me. They make you feel like you're in Studio 54. And I love Open Sesame. That was Cool in the Gang when they were still a funk band, before they went more pop when JT Taylor joined on vocals. Boogie Shoes is a killer track, and Disco Inferno.
Oh God, Casey and the Sunshine Band. I didn't even think about them, but
That's good. I like that.
Casey and the Sunshine Band, very under. I think they were more of a singles band. You know, I think probably all you need is the greatest hits. I could be wrong. Someone in the comments could be totally into Casey and say, no, you need the albums. But man, you know, like Get Down Tonight. Come on. That's
Love,
like
love,
funk.
I'm in love.
Yeah, there was
That's
some
my favorite
great
disco
stuff.
song ever.
It still holds up.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
But yeah,
what is that?
I've loved this. I bought this. The songs just kept going through my head. I've had this album for over 30 years, and I've loved it ever since. And I still play it pretty frequently. And a few times a year, I bring this out.
I will say, John, How Deep Is Your Love is probably the best vocal melody ever made. I listen to the song, I'm like, oh my God, that song is really about the vocals. The instruments are very secondary in that song, and I'm like, wow, that is a great written vocal melody. Great song.
Oh my gosh, that falsetto on there will make you cry.
Yeah, it's super. Yeah, I love it.
And that Fat Boy version that you got, that's what you want. That's the one that sounds better.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get the
I know
remaster.
they put out. I read they put out a bunch of other versions with more tracks and all that, but
I don't know.
I
That's
stick
the
with
one you
my
want.
tried and true, the Fat Boy box, the Fat Box. That's right. So yeah, so there's my last one.
Great choice. I love that record. I still pull it out. Now, when I was like in middle school back in the day, that was a big record. And, you know, I couldn't stand it, but man, I've come to appreciate disco a lot more.
Yeah.
Now.
Same here.
But when you're a kid, it's the thing. Well, I can't like that. I can't like ABBA. Oh, no. No, you know, I have a little bit of a soft spot for it. So, but that is a perfect record. Not anything weak on it. They were on fire. Perfect record. I don't have to say anything.
And don't sleep on the songs not by the Bee Gees. I mean, this is just all killer, no filler. It's an excellent album.
Mm-hmm. And don't forget, it's got the Tramps on there, Disco Inferno,
and Tavares and the Bee Gees with versions of More Than a Woman, which were both singles.
Yeah, both hits. Is what it is. All right, cool. Wow, we better get moving. All right, Dan, what's your next one?
All right, I'll make this one quick. Everybody knows this artist. Reason I have it is Hometown Pride. She is a 20 million album seller with this album.
Okay.
Jeff mentioned country. I'm going to go with country pop. So 1 hour from where I grew up. I'm going to go with Shania Twain.
Yep.
You see a theme here, right? You know, chicks.
I guess. Dan's all over them.
That's right.
But you know what? Her songs
get a hose out and hose him down.
I love her songs too. They're like the hits are great. Seen her live 3 times. Once was a disaster. I'm not going to get into that because we're short on time. But yeah, it's 1 hour from where I grew up. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go support. And of course, easy on the eyes too when you see her videos and all that. But yeah, she knows how to write a good, catchy country pop song. And I'll say that there. So anyway, Shania Twain, I've got all her records also. So there you go. That is my number one guilty pleasure, but more out of pride because of hometown pride.
Yep. I have no problem with that either. So a lot of records are probably, I don't know. Did she kind of drop out after a while after she got her divorce from Mutt?
Yeah, but she got 2 new albums there.
Mm-hmm.
Like that one's double diamond, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. And she had like 3 in a row go over 10 million.
Yeah, she was big.
She was, absolutely.
All right, cool. Awesome, Dan. That's a good pick. All right, Jeff, what's your final pick?
All right. You guys are way too normal. So now we're going to get weird.
Well, okay.
This I will be surprised.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, it's all good. This is all fun. So my last pick is a guy called Yellow Man.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody heard of him?
Heard of Yellow Man?
No, I never have.
Okay, so he is a dancehall reggae artist, which dancehall reggae, if you're not familiar, is basically just rap over reggae. It's a rap delivery over reggae type instruments, either played by a band or it's more called raga, I believe, if it's computer generated rhythms. Either way, so this was big in Jamaica in the 80s, and he's still going, actually. He's been through a lot. He's an albino, which in Jamaica is not well looked upon, so he took a lot of crap for that. Like actual, you can't do these things, you can't have these things because it wasn't a good place to be. And he's also had cancer of the jaw. So his whole face is a little lopsided now. And he's been recording like that ever since. And you can't tell except when you see an interview and you're like, wow, how does that work? But why is Yellow Man a guilty pleasure? This is the interesting part. Because the culture there is a little different, and there's a lot more misogyny and homophobia going on there. And some of that does creep into some of the songs. And I can't really support that. I mean, Rob Halford is gay, end of fucking discussion. Indigo Girls are gay, end of fucking discussion. I mean, you can end the discussion with so many people. Friends of mine, it just, this is not a thing that I can support. And yet, I love the music so much that I just kind of tried to skip over those bits. And that's what makes it a guilty pleasure. Also, this is something that anytime I played it for just about anybody else, they have said, what in the hell are you listening to? And when can it stop? It's not well received because it's kind of a monotone delivery. And you kind of have to be in the mood for this sort of thing. But anyway, the album I would go with is called Galong, 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 Galong. There's a lot of good stuff on there. And, he's been huge in Jamaica, but he's pretty unknown here. I know he played, I remember seeing he played a bar in Madison where I used to live that was just like, that was a local band bar. And then this guy from Jamaica shows up selling all these records over there, and he's playing at the Crystal Corner in Madison, which I thought was hilarious in a way, but not great because he could probably use a little more bucks than that's going to give him. But anyway, yeah, so he's not bigger. And so it's just the reason I brought up the albino part. I know we're running out of time here, so I'll try to finish this up quick. He's got a song about Michael Jackson. He's really unhappy with Michael Jackson. And this is in like 1987. The reason is because he feels that Michael Jackson's trying to lighten, at the time was trying to lighten his skin. And he went through all of that stuff with not having a choice, being an albino. That's where he got the name Yellow Man. I mean, he had to embrace it because you can't ignore it. And so he kind of felt like Michael Jackson was just not authentic. it's really interesting. So he's got a song called Beat It, where he just basically complains about this. I find it fun. Everyone else's mileage may vary. I mean, like, I don't think anybody's time would be wasted checking out Electric Six. I don't really recommend that anybody who isn't like, oh boy, rap over reggae? Where do I sign up? If you didn't respond like that, then you could probably just forget about this. I don't think it's going to convince you, and the accent's pretty thick, so it's hard to tell. I don't even know what he's saying.
Yeah, he's got a lot of records out.
Oh yeah, so many records.
A lot of records.
All of them, and there's probably filler crap on all of them, but we'll have that.
All right.
So that's my last one, and I have a billion others that I could have mentioned, but maybe I'll jump in the live chat later.
Yeah, list them out there. All right, cool, excellent. All right, gentlemen, I want to thank you all for sharing your guilty pleasures. So, John the Music Nut, Dan, and Jeff, holy crap, we're going to wrap this up because I have a show right now. So anyway, please like, subscribe. You know the whole routine. We will see you on the next one. What's next on the Contrarians? God only knows, because we're putting out content all the time. So we will see you on the next one, gentlemen. Have a good night, and we will see you next time.